Let's look under here and see what you're hiding. Oh, look at those. Welcome to Brothers Custom Builds. Man, it was so much fun. Finally getting this thing rolled outside, getting to step back a little bit and take a look at it from a distance. Just gives you a different perspective and feel of the vehicle when it's finally out of the shop. Overall, the customer was very happy with the stance and what the vehicle looked like. We just have a few little adjustments to make there. If you missed it, make sure to check out that video here. But now we're on the final stretch before pulling the body off of this thing. And the frame will be going to powder coat, the body will be going into paint and body. So we got a few little things that we need to take care of before that. Doesn't make them less fun. We got a lot of fun stuff to do here. One is a cool hood scoop coming up out of the hood. Other is we got to build the headers. Got a great fabricator and friend of mine, Josh, who's going to come take care of the headers while I'm working on some other stuff. Some of that other stuff includes a window net. We need a window net for his race class. And then also we need fuel lines run. So little issues that are left. Can't wait to see how it all looks. Thanks again for watching the video. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Just appreciate your support. Let's get to work. After the fab work was done on the headers, we sent them off for ceramic coating. We got them back. I froze the headers and then heated the slip-on collectors. You know.
It's science.
They're like a little left and right identical twins. Got some twins here. All right, for the upper portion of the window net so they can drop down, disconnect. Got your fixed mount back here, and then I do a little pull pin up here. I just make that out of an eyelet with a spring. And I set it at a little bit of a downward angle so that when you pull that, the net will just drop. And over here, it's important to make sure this tab isn't hanging in a position where it could hit the driver's helmet. So that's up flush with the bottom of the cage. And then also you don't want to have something where you're hitting it climbing in. So this tape I've got here runs from the outside edge of the trim. So as you're climbing in, that's what you would look at as you're coming in. And that is the gauge of how low you would lower your head. So I use this just to make sure that my tabs are higher than that, so that the driver's not hitting their head on that while they're climbing in. But I'll show you. You just pull the pin. Drops out. Let me show you from this angle what I mean. When you're climbing in the car, you're stepping over the crossbars and you're gonna duck your head to go into the car. Your mind naturally is gonna lower your head low enough to go under what you can see. So I make sure that the tabs under here are not hanging down below that. All right, got the window net all done. A little bracket at the bottom to hold the base, bolts in to the cage, front and back. And I showed you the quick release on that. Pull that, it drops. Also got it really tight to the door just to get it out of the way of the driver. You can see there's still a gap down there between the armrest. So it gives the driver as much room as possible. Down there for the fuel pump, I had to drill a hole in the trunk floor so the motor of the pump could go up in there, because I didn't want the fuel line hanging way low under the frame rail. I welded in these little flange nuts, little 5/16 flange nuts, and I'll finish welding those once I get all the body off and I'm doing all the final welding. These flange nuts, these are for if we end up wanting to bolt on. It's just preparing for the future. If we end up wanting to bolt on, do like some form of makeshift trailer hitch if he does drag and drive events. So just trying to be prepared. Again, not fully welded. I'll fully weld that when I flip this thing over to do all the finished welding. So we can't just leave a hole in the trunk floor. So with David's work and the power of YouTube magic, made a nice little cover. Here's my attempt at making a fuel filter mount. Took a piece of header tubing and just cut a little slice in it, and then I bent these two out. I flattened those out and metal worked them a little bit, take off these sharp edges, and hopefully be able to run a machine screw through that with a lock nut and a thin piece of rubber in here that'll sandwich and hold the fuel filter. So see how it'll work out. So what I like to use to go between like a metal bracket and another metal component, such as these metal fuel filters, I like to use a thin piece of rubber. What I found that works really well and is super cheap, you can get it at any home improvement store. It's just a thin piece of rubber that goes on top of or gets glued on top of stairs in a home. So this thing's very cheap, it's easy to use, and I usually cut this to be a barrier in between the two metal parts, both on like the fuel filters and also for like a steering column to go in between the column and the brackets. All right, unlike how with brake line I'll use like a filler rod or a coat hanger as a guide to mock up my piece. With this soft aluminum fuel line, this is 1/2 inch. I don't have a great little trick to do that. Usually what I do is take a piece and just beat it all up. It ends up with marks all over it, and let's see, vice marks on it, which I would not use. I could not use that piece. But it gives me a rough idea of the angles and the measurements that I need to be able to make the fuel line. But you got a great trick, I'd love to learn, but I don't have a good trick to not waste fuel line. The benefit is this stuff is super cheap. So I usually just expect on getting 2 rolls of it for one vehicle. Not a big deal. Show you here. So I get it close to where now all I need to do, my bends and everything line up. Now all I need to do is just take some off of the end, off of each end, to be able to shorten it up a little and then flare it. We'll see how it fit, but it's a nice smooth looking piece. All right, so we made our pre-pump filter, which is a 100 micron filter. We made that mount here out of a piece of header tubing welded to the frame. So that sandwiches that. And then as the line goes out the pump down the frame rail, I want to show you what I made over here. Couldn't hide my excitement about this if I wanted to. So here, what I found out, like I did with the brake lines, I was thinking of going down through that framework kind of under the seat, but the tubing would have to be too big. So come to find out, the post fuel pump filter, which is this, it's just a 40 micron. It is like the perfect width, just the same as this rectangle tubing. And the diameter of it fits in 1 5/8" really well. So I welded a piece of 1 5/8" through there, welded on a little flange nut here for a 832 machine screw. And then on this side, see if I can get you zoomed in there. Then on this side, I just welded a little stop, basically a washer that I cut out to stop the pump in there. So I'll still line it with the rubber tread from the step. So I'll line it with that, slide that filter in. Let me do that now and I'll show you how it looks. All right, so as you can see there, it comes through that washer, but it's held in there really tight with the bolt-on retainer on the other side. Let me roll over there, show you that retainer. So this is the retainer. Use an 832 machine screw, cut this out of an 1/8" plate. When it screws in, it secures the filter in there really nice. I'm so excited about that. I think that worked out really well. It's a great way to get the fuel by this giant cross member instead of having to go under it. I don't like having plumbing lines hanging down. So I think that's going to work out really well. Let's see if I can get a better shot. There you go.